Hey everybody, it's Justin, your guide into the other side. Let's talk about the importance of environment tier. And basically there's two ways that'll impact you. The first is, other side 3D. It's going to determine how big your deed is and, what you can build on inside of the 3D version of other side. And then the second way is how it's going to impact you in season 1 and, further seasons of Legends of Tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. So let's dive into the aesthetic as well as, the limitations and, what you can build inside of Otherside. So first of all, we saw Metropolis, a new island of Otherside, yesterday, and we saw this on a steps environment. I don't think we've seen this one yet. Well, okay, maybe we have. Maybe I'm just forgetting. There's so much stuff going on all the time. But basically, we saw a big voxel city for the Meebits built on 3D Otherside in the steps environment. And like this is really big. I'm assuming it's a higher tier deed. So obviously, if you're trying to build bigger experiences, games, etc., if you're a developer, then this might be more appropriate for you, right? But if you're looking for, if you're just a single player, if you're looking to hang out with friends, build bases for yourself, or maybe a more cozier experience, then maybe a lower tier deed is more appropriate. But again, there's no limit to your imagination to what you can build, what you can achieve with your friends. So by all means, that deed and the biome of these is going to really be something to take a look at, right? And we also saw, we've seen a lot of big deeds, especially with the ones. I think we had the July 27th Basie focus group take a look at like the Board Ape Yacht Club, and we saw a lot of detail with regards to like a bog tier environment, I believe. And then they're just exploring. They're hanging out at the Board Ape Yacht Club. So obviously picking the environment type as well as like how big it is going to be really important. So let's pull it back to outside of just the other side experience. Let's talk about how it's going to impact you in Legends of the Mara. So right off the bat, your environment tier shows you how many worker slots that you'll have inside of Otherside, right? And that's going to impact your budget, right? It's going to impact the ability of to scale over time if you want to add vessels to your deed, and it's going to impact like initially, like, hey, if I want to play at a high level at the very beginning of a season, how many vessels am I going to have to buy, nest, speed up, etc., and I'm not going to be able to get the things that I want at the end of the day if I decide to farm or fight on it, right? So take a look at my deeds. I'm kind of glad I only have 2, to be honest, because I have like 10 vessel slots open. I have 6 enchanters to get, and I've got like 4 worker slots left. God knows how much money that's going to be, but we'll build out slowly, okay? So we'll just enjoy the process, right? So right off the bat, if you're fighting, we'll just kind of ignore farming, mainly because you just throw farmers on there. Obviously, there are like optimization tables you can take a look at. I know Raving A from Will. I know he had some tables on it. I'll link that in the description below. But let's just talk about fighting, right? The size of your environment is going to kind of determine the difficulty of the bosses that you're going to face, right? And I actually have PM's post on like the HP numbers for each boss, and the first boss is the Sidian boss, right? So tier 1 through tier 5, it's 50 million, 125, 164. That's a lot of HP, right? And if you actually take a look, I have my hunter on a tier 2, right? And it's got 60 DPS. It's going to take me 20. I looked at the other guild calculator. It's going to take me 24 days to beat a tier 2 Sidian HP. And I'll talk about the bosses later. Like Sidian is first, and then Thrash is the second one. And like, if you take a look at the Thrash HP, it's even more. Like, oh my good gosh, like that's a lot. So my one hunter is gonna get wrecked. It's gonna take forever. And like the length, if you can actually pull up the length of the season that's left over. So by pulling up the leaderboard here, I mean it ends in 38 days. It like I want to get loot before the end of the season, right? So that'll necessitate me to pick up another, which I know I'm kind of jumping over. I'm gonna have to fill up the slot with another hunter, or I'm gonna have to put enchanters, etc. But like if you want to beat the bosses and play at a high level, you're gonna have to max deed it out. So you may not necessarily want to do that on a high tier deed if your budget doesn't allow that. So you're gonna have to keep that in mind. So let's talk about loot, right? I know there's a lot of confusion with like how to get loot, leaderboard loot, and then end of boss loot. So the majority of loot will be from the master chest that drop after you defeat a shattered, right? And basically there are three kinds of loot boxes that drop after you defeat a Shattered Goliath, right? And each box determines the rarity of the loot that comes out at the end of the day, right? So, if you have a master chest, you'll have access to, being able to pull like legendary tier loot from the battle allies, right? Forgotten Ruins, Serum City. I think there's a lot more utility. I think there's a lot more utility with regards to the ship parts, because you can use it. You can build a vehicle NFT inside of Otherside. So I guess we'll see where Yuga takes us with that. But again, obviously the higher tier rarity, the parts, the better. I'm assuming we'll see. So I mean, by all means, if you want higher tier loot, I mean I do. So you're probably gonna have to optimize for a master chest. I'd highly recommend using the other guilds, calculator, build sim tool. I had a thread on that earlier, but we'll look at that later. But again, you're gonna have to pull it back to what we were talking about. The environment tier is really important because it's the difficulty essentially. It's the difficulty, how fast you can beat your bosses, etc., and then subsequently the loot as well at the end of the day. So, um, you know, to round it all about, pick your deed accordingly. Pick your environment to however what you like. Obviously, if you're trying to build particular experiences, by all means, like sands and biolume crystal are my favorite. But I mean, if you're looking to build gaming experiences, or building bases to hang out with your friends, pick something cool, right? Or if you're more worried about I guess fighting the Shattered and stuff like that, you can probably pick your you can use the I guess you can use the Otherdeed browser on Otherside Wiki, or you can use other decks as well. I just have Otherside Wiki up here. I just got it because I have the bookmark. But you can choose your environment tier here. So if I wanted to pick tier one, I could click it and it would just bring up all the tier ones. But if I wanted like tier five, I could also click that as well, and it would pull up tier fives as well. So by all means, I hope this video was insightful and I hope you learned something. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button if it always helps me create more content. But again, all the links will be in the description. So I'm gonna sign off. I'll see you guys around. Uh, Peace.